Let's review some songs. Back in September, I made a list of my favorite South Park songs, but that list excluded any songs from the South Park movie, because, well, let's be honest, if I included them, more than half the list would include songs from the South Park movie, and it didn't feel fair to pick just one to include. These songs are classics, and they show off the true genius of South Park. And if you're gonna talk about them, the truth is, you gotta talk about all of them. In fact, these songs are so amazing that one person can't possibly talk about these songs and do them enough justice. So, I'm gonna bring in some big-time reinforcements. Joining me today is NICKtendo.
Hello everyone, NICKtendo here, and I feel like South Park has one of the most consistently good selections of songs of every cartoon out there. And the same can be said for its movie. There's so much variety to them too, from heavy metal rock pieces to parodies of classic Broadway hits, and everything in between. We talked about these songs before in a review that you can find on my channel, but now we're going to dive in deeper, excluding the shortest ones like the Mole's reprise of La Resistance, Stan's song, and the songs that were featured in the credits. Because we either covered these songs in our review, or simply didn't have as much to say about them, and this video is already fairly long as is.
We're also disqualifying the song Hell Isn't Good, because aside from the badass fact that James Hetfield from Metallica did backing vocals on it, and Trey Parker has a shockingly good heavy metal voice, there's not a whole lot to talk about with that song. Everything else is fair game though, and trust me, that was still a challenge on the both of us to do. It's almost unfair to hint that any of these songs are the worst of any category, but that's why South Park is a legend. Even its worst effort is absolutely enjoyable. So let's get this video started. This is the worst to first of the South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut songs.
But I can change, I can learn to keep my promises, I swear it.
In the collaboration Nick and I did on his channel, I said that practically every song in this movie is memorable, and I still stand by that. That being said, this one is probably the least memorable. After Satan tells Saddam that he's not bringing him to Earth with him because of how Saddam treats him, Saddam starts singing the song about how he can change.
Some people say that I'm a bad guy. They may be right. They may be right.
Unlike all the other songs on this list, there isn't anything about it that really makes it special. There aren't any clever lines or distinct funny moments that I can recall, outside of seeing Saddam's parents having the same face and bodies as him during a flashback. That was pretty funny in a stupid way. But even when there is a funny lyric, the song speeds up so quickly that it doesn't give the listener enough time to take in what is being said. Saddam's voice is also very annoying. I know that's part of his character, but it doesn't make for a very good singing voice.
Also, the song's theme feels a bit too similar to Blame Canada, in the sense that it's Saddam spending a portion of the song blaming others for how he's ended up. While I wouldn't say that alone makes it a bad song, compared to what's to come, it's definitely the only song that most fans can agree they wouldn't be itching to listen to if they got the soundtrack to this movie.
Actually, I Can Change is probably the best song to listen to on the soundtrack, since it's the only one to have an extended version. Too bad they picked the worst song in the film to do that with. I know that this is a bit off topic, but the soundtrack for Bigger, Longer, and Uncut actually has some interpretations of its songs done by various other artists, and boy are they awful. If you ever wanted to hear a country version of I Can Change and an electronic version of I'm Super, this is the place to go. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, I Can Change. A song so mediocre, I don't care that I got so off topic when talking about it. Frankly, it doesn't even deserve all the attention I've already given it.
Don't be such a twit, Mother Teresa won't have shit on me. Just watch me change. Here I go, I'm changing. Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. You're a cocksucking ass licking Uncle Fucker.
Honestly, this is the exact type of song you would expect Terrence and Phillip to sing. Something very repetitive, very full of swear words, and even works in farts. When the boys go to see the Terrence and Phillip movie Asses Afire, they are initially shocked to hear the title character swearing like sailors, before eventually singing the song calling each other Uncle Fuckers. You know, as opposed to motherfuckers.
The score is what I think makes this song as good as it is. It's so grand and bombastic that it elevates the song above what it really is. And that's lots of swearing, variations on the same phrases, and characters farting for half of the song. I understand that that's kind of the point of the song. It's supposed to make fun of what people would expect to see in a South Park musical number. It definitely succeeds in doing that, but also kicks the scale up to 11, especially at the end. It's a very fun part of the movie, but judged as a song, it isn't that great.
Well, it's certainly not their most clever song in terms of lyrics, and it's certainly supposed to be as immature as possible, but I wouldn't say that keeps this song from being great. In fact, I would say what makes this song so great to so many people is just how unserious it takes itself. It's like when someone tells you that you're immature, so you start acting immature just to piss them off. While it wouldn't be funny to the person you're trying to piss off, anyone else would find it hilarious just because they know that's what you're doing. That's what this song is doing. It's trying to piss off all the parents who don't like South Park and don't want their kids to watch it. But to anyone else, it's hilarious because we know that's what they're doing. While I'll admit it does keep the song from being one of the best, I at least appreciate it for doing that.
You're an Uncle Fucker, I must say.
You fucked your uncle yesterday.
Uncle Fucker, that's U-N-C-L-E. Fuck you, Uncle Fucker!
Suck my balls.
What would Brian Boitano do if he was here right now? He'd make a plan and he'd follow through. That's what Brian Boitano do.
In the only song in the film to be sang by the main trio, Cartman, Stan, and Kyle ask themselves what their hero, Olympic champion Brian Boitano, would do as they figure out a way that they can save the day.
So what would Brian Boitano do if he were here today? I'm sure he'd kick an ass or two. That's what Brian Boitano do.
This song is triumphant and very energizing. It sounds like something you could actually play to pump yourself up if you're about to do something really nerve-wracking.
So what would Brian Boitano do if he were here today? I'm sure he'd kick an ass or two. That's what Brian Boitano do.
Also, it's one of the only songs that spends its whole time praising a real person and building them up into some kind of god. That's a very rare and honestly kind of heartwarming moment for South Park. The biggest issue with this song, though, is that some parts do feel a bit forced. For example, this part.
Someone say my name?
Who are you?
I'm Brian Dennehy.
What? No, not fucking Brian Dennehy. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, bye.
Yeah, they very easily could have cut this out and it wouldn't have changed the song one bit. In fact, in the soundtrack version, they did cut this part out. And here's an interesting little bit of trivia about this song. Brian Boitano said when he heard South Park was doing a song about him, he understandably assumed they were gonna rip him a new one. But when he heard this song, he was very flattered by it, which isn't hard to see why.
Originally, I was very worried. You know, when you hear that there's a song about you, you're like, what are they going to say? I mean, you don't know. So, but, you know, then I was like, hey, this is actually pretty nice. They were actually pretty nice to me, it seems.
Before this song, I had no idea who Brian Boitano was, but if this song does anything, it gets you to want to look this man up on Wikipedia. What would Brian Boitano do is so powerful that it gets you to be obsessed with this man as much as the boys are, and I think that's something worth noting. It's such a weird inclusion that I can't help but really enjoy it. Boitano's appearance in this song is actually a reference to one of the Christmas shorts that Trey Parker and Matt Stone produced that led to the start of South Park, titled The Spirit of Christmas. In it, Brian Boitano answers the boys' call for help when they want to know who they should support in the fight between Jesus and Santa Claus.
Kids, you shouldn't think of things like that. This is the one time a year in which we all try to get along. No matter what we believe in, this is the season just to be good to each other. Bye!
When I was showing this movie to a friend a while back, he asked me who Brian Boitano was after he listened to the song. All I could say was, he's Brian Boitano, man. And if that doesn't prove how good this song is, I don't know what will.
And we'll say Terrence and Phillip too, cause that's what Brian Boitano do. Cause that's what Brian Boitano do.
I'm super. Thanks for asking. All things considered, I couldn't be better, I'm a thing.
I'm not completely sure why that out of every character in South Park, Big Gay Al was the one chosen to get a song. But I'm not complaining. When the song begins, it's very soft and slow paced. But it quickly erupts into a loud production, filled with animals, sparklers, male backup dancers, and everything else that you would expect a character called Big Gay Al to have in his musical number. There are quite a few lyrics and gags poking fun of homosexuals, but the song is filled with so much energy through both its music and visuals that you can't help but get into it.
No, nothing bugs me. Everything is super when you're don't you think I look cute in this happy?
Not only is it hilarious that Big Gay Al is saying that he doesn't feel all that bad for the war going on, or for what happens to certain people, it's also really smart because, really, that's how anyone is. When people are in good moods, they don't want to think about stuff like that. They want to keep those positive vibes going.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Cripple, but I just can't feel too bad for you right now, because I'm feeling so insanely super, that even the fact that you can't walk can bring me down.
I give them a lot of props for just going all out with this song. If you can give a character that barely had any screen time in your show to begin with such a catchy and fun number like this that actually makes people remember him, it shows how well you know your characters and how musically talented you are. And I must say, this song really does have the power to make anyone feel super.
Everything is super.
Follow my plan and very soon you will say it's easy, Uncut.
Again, we have another recurring character having another unexpectedly great musical number. In this case, Mr. Mackey, a character with an extremely inconsistent speech pattern, has one of the most consistently catchy songs in the entire movie. Mackey sings this song in an attempt to educate the kids of South Park on why they shouldn't use naughty language and the words that they can use to replace said language.
Step 1, instead of ass, say buns, like kiss my buns or you're a bun's hole. Step 2, instead of shit, say poo, as in bull poo poo, head and this poo is cold.
This song's say and repeat style, along with some great wordplay, make it a really fun tune to listen to. The animation here is also very nice, showcasing a lot of movement with Mackey and his class. It does repeat half of the song at the end with little changes, but the energy and peppiness it brings to the table make it a classic song.
But for the record, if you take a Latin class in high school, know that Bic isn't actually Latin for generosity. It's nothing but a South Park word. But in a way, the song seems to be openly mocking what some parents want South Park to be like, an almost Sesame Street-like show that teaches good lessons. And to be fair, this song does teach you good lessons. It teaches you how to quote South Park in school without getting into trouble. Just replace some words in some South Park quotes with the words they're telling you to replace them with, and boom! Only you and your friends know what you're quoting and your teachers are none the wiser. Yeah, Hanukkah sucks.
Don't you oppress me, fat boy.
Don't call me fat, Bun McKayer.
Then don't belittle my people, you McKayin fat buns.
Ah, dang it! Don't call me fat, you Bun McKayin son of a bitch! Children, play nice. See, it works. Thanks for the help, Mr. Mackey.
It's easy, Uncut. It's easy, Uncut. It's easy, Uncut.
Just another Sunday morning in my quiet mountain town.
What a peaceful opening number. This is exactly what you'd expect from South Park, isn't it? A cheerful, happy, lovely, and child-friendly group of people, right? No, of course it isn't! And that's why this song is so badass. The song is deliberately and openly mocking all the people who complain about South Park, saying it's too edgy and raunchy and they want it to tone itself down. So the movie is giving those people exactly what they want by opening the movie in such a peaceful and censorship-friendly way.
Oh, what a picture-perfect child, just like Jesus, he's tender and mild. He'd wear a smile while he wore a thorny crown.
Mountain Town serves two purposes in the film. One is to introduce all of the characters, and the other is to set a tone that contrasts with the rest of the film. The song is very peaceful and mild, but the lyrics are just as catchy and clever as you would expect from South Park, just not in a super offensive way. The song is interrupted by a couple of scenes that show Stan meeting up with each of his friends and going to the movies. Each of these scenes aren't very long, and the score keeps the spirit of the song alive through these scenes.
This program is brought to you by Snacky S'mores, the creamy fun of s'mores and a delightful cookie crunch.
Somebody's at the door!
Coming, hun.
I can't see the TV!
This song also shows off the talents of the South Park staff. In a way, it's kinda like they're saying, see, we don't need to be offensive. If we wanted to, we can make something very memorable that has no swearing or offensive humor. And that's what they did here. It's one of the first times South Park showed off its creative genius and that it was a lot smarter than most people gave it credit for. And it's very hard to argue that this isn't one of their best songs.
While the song is basically one big joke on the audience, it's so good that you don't really care and can just enjoy the song for what it is. That's a recurring theme throughout a lot of these songs, and whenever it was done, I never felt disappointed. Mountain Town opens the film on a very high note, and it sets the standard for a great musical. As we'll see, the film definitely delivers on that front, especially with the songs coming up next. Boy, does it deliver.
Thank God we live in the quiet little redneck podunk white trash. USA.
And when you all get shot and cannot carry on, though you die, la resistance lives on.
This song marks the start of the climax of the film, and shows all the different characters preparing for the war that is quickly approaching. We see Wendy's girlfriend Gregory, who by the way just mysteriously disappears after this movie, motivating the kids of South Park to continue their resistance no matter what stands in their way, in a beautifully sung scene that is a parody of Can You Hear the People Sing from Les Miserables.
Blessed be the children we who fight with all our bravery, till only the righteous stand.
It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again.
Next, other groups of characters join in. The various men from South Park and the US Army lead a military-like chant, the Mothers Against Canada reprise Blame Canada, and Satan reprises Up There. Both of the reprises, however, have a couple of variations to them. All of the songs lead really well into each other, and I love how they start to combine with each other more and more as the song moves towards its end. La Resistance is a great mix of both old and new songs that gets you really excited for the rest of the film. Also, I can't forget to mention that the beginning of the song is a direct reference to the beginning of One Day More, a song which is also from Les Miserables.
God has smiled upon you this day, the fate of a nation in your hand.
I'd live until today. How can I live when we are parted?
Not only that, but it also borrows the same exact structure from that song. Overall, despite about 50% of the song being recycled from previous songs in the film and other musicals, it's still really, really good.
I think it's safe to say this staff really knew their musicals. They literally encompass some of the best musical numbers ever and blended them all into a legitimate song. Also, when you blend together other songs and play them all at the same time like that, you'd expect that to get obnoxious, but here it just intensifies everything.
You can have and serve it to a pig, and when it hurts you laugh and dance a dickless jig. But that's the way it goes, and you're sat upon the
It's the exact thing you want right before a big intense war is about to take place. And I would like to say this is an achievement for a musical to do, but it's not exactly an achievement here. It's just typical ingenious South Park. It's more evidence of how skillful and talented they are.
I'm getting pretty sick of him calling my mom. Well, cause mom's a bitch, she's a big fat witch, she's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world.
Oh boy, Nick, I can hear the boos already. I guarantee everyone who clicked on this video expected this to be the best. It's by far the most popular song South Park's ever made, but popularity doesn't always mean something is truly the best. In fact, you can argue that, along with Uncle Fucker, this song is the least clever song lyrically on this list.
Unexpectedly, most of the lyrics in this song consist of Cartman swearing and insulting Kyle's mother, and the song goes on for almost an entire minute and a half. With a combination like that, you would think that the song would get a little old after a while, sort of like another song we already covered. And while that's true to some extent, the sheer amount of variety in this song helps bring it up. First, there's the beginning, which is ripped directly from the episode Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh, but then a chorus of kids kicks in for another verse. And then we see the song in various different languages, and finally, Cartman ends the song with a big Broadway-esque bang. The song is constantly being changed up in so many different ways, and in my book, that puts it a step above many of the other songs, despite its weak basis.
If anything, I wouldn't be shocked if Matt and Trey made this song with the intent of making it as basic as possible, because they knew the basic lyrics and overly catchy music would guarantee everyone would remember it. It's definitely a trademark South Park song, and it's something even the newest of South Park fans can recall from the top of their head. And I don't think I'm stretching it by saying that this is by far South Park's funniest song. But if we're giving credit where it's due, there are still two songs that top this one as the greatest songs from this movie.
What? Fuck.
Up there is so much room where babies burp and flowers bloom. Everyone dreams I could dream too.
This is both the movie's and the show's most underrated song in my opinion. After Satan asks Saddam what it's like up there on Earth, Saddam ignores his question and insults him. So Satan goes outside to dream about what Earth is like, and about what it's like to not be rejected by everyone. And it's not only a funny song just for the sheer fact that it's the devil singing about not being hated, it's a straight up charming song. Its music is soothing, the lyrics are pretty deep, and it's honestly a hard song not to relate to. Everyone at some point wants to feel accepted, and in a way, this song captures what that feeling is like.
Sometimes I think, when I look up real high, that there's such a big world up there. I'd like to give it a try.
Also, I can't help but have a deep admiration for this line in particular.
Without evil there can be no good, so it must be good to be evil sometime.
That line feels like South Park's own little way of saying that while their show is trashy and raunchy, that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't have a place in this world and that it shouldn't exist. And if the people who didn't want quote-unquote evil shows like this to exist, then no real good shows could exist. And if you do hate South Park, that'll just make you appreciate the shows you do love even more. That's the kind of subtlety I've always loved from the show.
Personally, this is my favorite song from the film. It gives the devil a new layer of development by showing his true hopes and dreams, which makes this interpretation of him more than just simply the Lord of Darkness. He's the only character in this movie that is really fleshed out. And because he's one of the most important characters in the film, especially towards the end, I'm glad that he wasn't just a simple one-note villain. While this song does foreshadow Satan's turn to good at the end of the film, it's also a very good piece of music on its own. The score is once again larger than life, and the gospel chorus that backs the song up is also a good touch. Though it's pretty funny that the devil has a song with a gospel chorus in it. That's one of a few examples of the subtle humor this song presents. The fact that Satan himself is singing this uplifting ballad with little to no humor in it is funny in itself, and the song runs with this concept so well that you can actually take it seriously. Up There is among one of the best songs South Park has ever produced, but Jem and I have come to the conclusion that there is just one more that is better.
I want to live up there.
Blame Canada is by far South Park's overall best song ever. This encompasses everything that a great South Park song has. The lyrics are amazing, the music is catchy, the singing is top-notch, the message it's sending is subtle, yet still very smart, the visuals are awesome, and it's an Oscar-nominated song. Really, how could you not consider this the best song in the movie? After being fed up with their children watching Terrence and Phillip, and Kenny killing himself after emulating them, the parents of South Park, led by Kyle's mother, form a movement called Mothers Against Canada, blaming Canada for corrupting children's minds with their programs.
Blame Canada! Blame Canada! It seems that everything's gone wrong since Canada came along.
If you remember one song from Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, it's Blame Canada. All of the film's major themes are summed up here, and it's also one of the most clever songs, showing how ignorant the mothers of South Park are to their children's problems, and showing how wrong parenting can go sometimes. It also moves the plot along, showing a montage of events that leads to the formation and rise of MAC, the Mothers Against Canada, as they gain more and more supporters, going from a small meeting in a town hall to a countrywide riot in Washington, D.C. It's a cautionary tale that not only acts as the centerpiece of the film, but can also be enjoyed out of context from the rest of it. It not only deserved that Oscar nomination, but it also deserved to win. But sadly, Phil Collins won instead for You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan. I sure hope he enjoyed being ridiculed by South Park for the next year.
You've inside of me, deep inside of me.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone says, South Park got robbed. That's nothing against You'll Be in My Heart, that's actually a very nice song, but it's a very generic Disney song. But I can't say I'm surprised Blame Canada didn't win. No one likes being told off for their terrible parenting abilities, and South Park managed to do that in one of the most humorous, entertaining, and downright savage ways possible. It didn't stray away from the truth either. This is exactly what South Park went through its first few years, and still continues to go through today. It's always going to get controversy from parents who choose to blame South Park for existing, instead of blaming either themselves or their kids for watching it.
Well, the film is R-rated and it's not intended for children.
But of course children are gonna see it.
The United States has graphic violence on television all the time. We can't believe that a movie with some foul language would piss you off so much.
Because it's evil!
And despite it not being intended for kids, parents still feel the need to call it damaging for kids because, well, as Kyle's mom said, it's evil. And that's always the type of excuse they go with. And as long as parents choose to pass blame onto things like South Park or anything that's edgy, the more timeless and true this song becomes. It's a song that was way ahead of its time, and it's a song that will live on as one of the best moments in South Park history. Well, that'll do it for this long overdue worst to first list. And you know what? Looking back on these songs, they've aged flawlessly. When I was a kid, I enjoyed these songs for how catchy, fun, and hilarious they were. But watching them again as an adult, not only are they still all those things, but now I can see the full genius behind these songs.
I agree. There's a lot of interesting themes, subtle humor, and great talent put into these pieces. They're just as smart as every other part of the movie, and should never be written off as simple filler. These songs deserve every bit of praise that they get, and I really feel like they deserve more. While this movie didn't really need to be a musical, the songs helped give it an extra burst of fun and creativity, and I can't imagine that South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut would be as good as it was without them.
Neither could I. These songs are by far some of the best things to ever come from South Park. And it makes a lot of sense why they continue this tradition throughout their show. While the show has always been known to get its points across in a clever and creative way, they always seem to do it best when they're doing it in song. Anyway, I want to give a big thank you to NICKtendo for joining me on this list. We did a collaborative review of this movie on his channel, which I will leave a link to in the description below, as well as a link to his personal channel. He does some really good work over there, and it's definitely something worth checking out. And thank you all for watching. It's always a blast to talk about South Park, and the movie is no exception. Now I'll see you in the next review.